hear anybody talking about it. No, it's ironic that Gary and I are running in the county. We are running against entrenched Republicans, the most conservative people in the county, and we are the ones who are raising these issues of the Occupy movement. And myself, I've talked a lot about the arena issues and so forth, the unbelievable waste of money, $650,000 wasted on what I call a unicorn hunt for a mythological arena that was never built and will never be built. So we're the only ones. In the city, they're not even talking about it. The city has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars prosecuting these Occupy demonstrations. I have no idea why. None. I'm not talking about whether or not they should have cleared the park. That's one thing. That happens all the time. Traditionally and historically in demonstrations, after people are arrested, within a few weeks the charges are dismissed. Happens constantly. You can even ask people. The district attorney of Sacramento said it when they arrested a bunch of people down in the Capitol building. That's what happens. But they don't do that. They're wasting money. There is a disconnect in our society. It's quite interesting, and we see it constantly, between whether or not people have resources to do things or not. It's a very big disconnect and whatnot. If your car is broken into tomorrow, I can assure you what you'll be told is to go online and fill out a form. I can guarantee it to you, okay? But, you know, if there's a protest, it's amazing. How come there's enough money to hire 300 officers in overtime and riot gear? Why is there money for that? Where did it come from? Oakland has one of the highest murder rates in the world. They had plenty of money to have the police constantly surround those places. They don't have any patrol officers apparently to patrol the high murder zone areas of Oakland. No police. There's no police there. I assure you if you ever go there. They just ain't. The money suddenly exists to do that, to defend the interests of the entrenched elite, and that's what it's all about. So when I am on the Board of Supervisors, there will definitely be a person, an elected official, who will speak up about these issues and make sure that they are heard clearly. There is a connection between all sorts of things. In Sacramento County, for example, the district attorney, or agreed with about some things, thinks that we should continue with death penalty prosecutions. Please, if you have heard about it and you know about it, there's going to be on the ballot in the fall. They've made the ballot, I'm almost positive, a thing to abolish the death penalty. And I don't know. I am of the belief that if California does this, we will be the first state in the union to vote to abolish the death penalty. I think it's been done by legislatures. I don't know if it's ever been done by popular vote. And I really, really hope that that can happen. Again, plenty of money to prosecute the death penalty and so forth. And when you think about, and this all has to do because supervisors deal day to day with spending money and how it's spent. And the DA is separate from the office, so we have to separate those issues out a little bit. But if you think about it, people say things that make no sense about it. They say, well, the problem is too much money is spent by attorneys appealing it. On the other hand, you ask the person, like, well, do you want anybody to be executed who wasn't guilty? No, of course not. We have to make sure all the DNA testing is done. Well, you can't have it both ways. It's going to be expensive. It's an issue. And the cost of things is an issue. In Sacramento, the probation department put out a paper concerning the redistricting, it's not called redistricting, the realignment of the jail system. And they said that the best thing to do was to spend money on doing programs of rehabilitation for people on probation. The sheriff said, oh, no, 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 no. They're not going to be in the prisons anymore. Let's just lock them up here in the local jails. We'll keep them here. It's going to cost a fortune. There's not just going to be the cost of opening up the facility. There's the cost of having the inmates in the facility. For instance, when a person gets injured in a jail, you know they go to the UC Davis Health Services, right? They have some health services for people, but for serious conditions, they send them there. When somebody's out on probation and they have to go to see a doctor, even if they have, public assistance paying for them, or they might have their own insurance from their family, that's possible too, they just go, right? No, it's not how an inmate goes to see a doctor. Oh, no. An inmate goes, 3 officers have to go with them, they have to stay there. If the person's in overnight, you're getting overtime. It's a cost. So we have to, there's nothing wrong with looking at the costs of government services. Let's look at the most expensive government services and cut them back in a way that not only saves money, but is also more humane. One last point before I take questions. I don't know if I've gone over my allotted time or not. But one last point. My office, write this down. Does anybody write things anymore? It is at 6747 Fair Oaks Boulevard. That's right in the heart of Carmichael. Tomorrow morning, as we do almost every weekend, we'll have bagels and coffee and lots of door hangers and precinct signs. This area is in the district. All of your friends who are registered to vote, and let's hope they all are registered to vote, should vote for me. and no, I don't want them to vote just to vote. I want them to vote for me. Okay, let's be realistic. They should all do it, but there's a lot of potential voters here, and there's a lot of young people, and we need people the next few weeks going out, hanging out my door hangers, so we can win, and so that, you know, and I assure you, there's no question, my victory in this election will be an earth-shattering event in local and I think even national politics because of the position I played in the Occupy movement. Okay, so now I guess I'm supposed to open it up to questions according to this timesheet here. Questions? Answers? Grabs? Bones? Hi.
What role did you play in the Occupy movement?
Oh, I was involved with the group of lawyers who basically defended the Occupy defendants. And I was the person, even before this really happened, I went before the City Hall and gave a speech. I was a little more succinct there. It's only 2 minutes long. You got to see it. It's pretty good. And so, and in the end, they told everybody not to applaud, but everybody in the place applauded. In which I explained to them that they were wasting their time and they were going to dismiss them. I mean, the thing that's happened, the Occupy issue, aside from the tactical question, it's a tactical question, the issues about the 99%, which are all important issues, is this is a fundamental issue that's come of, you know, free speech. This is absurd. They've said that you cannot exercise free speech in a public park after 11 p.m., regardless. I mean, in other words, it's not that you know, maybe they can have a law against camping. Okay, fine. But they're saying you cannot stand in a park quietly holding a sign which says, I petition the government for grievances after 11 p.m. when the government office is closed. I mean, why? I mean, the reactions that there have been, and I think it's important to note this, and the thing about, you know, the Occupy movement that have been said negatively about it, and again, in the future there'll be different movements, undoubtedly, that might use different tactics, is that it was not people blogging. It was not people connecting through social media. That's completely untrue. That's not what it was. It was people actually going out into the streets and doing something. And that's what shocked people, and that's what caused the extremely harsh police response. In the 60s, during the famous event of the Chicago riots, okay, they stayed in Lincoln Park for 3 days before the police tried to take them out. In Sacramento, they arrested people the first minute people were in the park. Over the past 20 years, we've gotten used to this idiotic idea of things called free speech zones, and that the most important thing is that there's been no disruptions on the streets when people come to speak. What are you talking about? Why? What difference does it make if there's disruptions on the streets? Everything, and what has happened is that the leaders of past generations have been held up to stop people from doing what those leaders did. I mean, you know, everybody, and I'll say this, is that many people have heard Martin Luther King's beautiful I Have a Dream speech. A handful of people know how Bobby and John Kennedy begged him not to do the March on Washington. Begged him not to do the March on Washington, didn't want him to do it, didn't want it to happen. But what not as many people, unfortunately, have read now is the letter from the Birmingham jail. And that is what you must read. Okay, if you want to know about politics in the United States, you must read the letter from the Birmingham jail, in which Martin Luther King explains to everybody why he had to go out protest. And everyone was telling him not to. I mean, people were arrested and occupied at Cesar Chavez Park. I mean, no one even saw the irony. I mean, no one even cared. They absolutely didn't care. There's a statue of Cesar Chavez there, and they're arresting people who are quiet in a public place. It's absolutely ridiculous. And people need to speak out about it, and they don't. No one on the city council would speak out about it. I don't know why. They won't speak out about it. Well, you know, when I'm in office, I will. And more questions. Too long of an answer, right? Did you bring enough to share with the whole class, young lady?
She hasn't eaten since 10 in the morning. There's snacks over there.
This joke, no? Okay. Any other questions?
Well, so what is the real reason that they're going after them so quickly?
Is to immediately put in people's minds that demonstrations should not happen and are illegal. That you should not demonstrate in the street, that you're a lunatic if you demonstrate in the street. People have to be told this.
They can't figure out that that's totally ridiculous, because here we are, the Supreme Court says that corporations are people, and they can spend as much money as they want. They don't even have to tell who's spending the money and who's propagandizing the public. And
well, they want to convince people that that's a good thing. People are, I mean, you know, I could talk about it for hours. People are ideologically aligned to corporations. Indeed, actually, the dissolution of traditional ethnic boundaries has actually made people more aligned to corporations. As a friend of mine once said when I was, he was, I think he's a professor of international studies, when I was talking about how many independent countries there are in the world and whatnot, you know, after the breakup of Yugoslavia, he said, yeah, there are no independent countries in the world. I mean, people struggle to have the McDonald's, you know, be written in Serbian. You know, thousands of people die for that glorifying event. Yeah, that's a problem.
There are a lot of environmental issues
Yes.
in our county. What do you think is the
Absolutely.
most important one
Well,
to address?
to stop any effort to privatize the parks. I mean, that's obviously the first thing, because we have all of these open spaces that exist in here, aside from the additional parks. And we have to make sure that the privatization does not take place. There's some talk about forming a government entity, a sort of a joint powers administration that would separately administer the parks. I'm usually not against forming new bureaucracies because they're always bad, but that is something that we might have to consider. The second most important thing is, you know, to really have really vibrant public transport. As you might know, in this area, I've heard about this from people that for some reason, the reason the Muni doesn't go to the campus was some decision of some campus president in the 1960s when they were first designing it. But still, you know, when you look at where they build the trains to in Sacramento, it still doesn't make all that much sense to me. It's still almost a purposeful, and I hate to use this word, ghettoization, but I'll use it anyway. Because I think it is almost purposeful. Aside from, you know, a few government workers who work there, it's just, the stops are so strange. Why isn't there a stop in front of Art and Fair Mall? Why isn't there a stop in front of the UC Davis Medical Center? And I'm saying this, this keys in with the environment, because I remember I have an eye problem, and I once had to go to UC Davis Medical Center. I couldn't drive. They were doing eye surgery on me. So, and I took it. I said, I cannot believe that it does not. The light rail does not stop at the UC Davis Medical Center. It stopped. And by the way, these kind of things, correct growing of things, even when they have big suburbs, can be done. And I'll have to point out the example of San Diego. If you've ever been to San Diego, you go there and you go, every time people say this can't be done in large, sprawling urban areas, it's absolutely untrue. Of course, we've got to stop sprawl, but we have it already, so we have to do something so people can get from here to there without, you know, turning the air into dirt. Yes?
Yeah, so a really great campaign, and it's wonderful to hear about it. I'm from Boston. I'm going to be talking later.
Great.
But it's really awesome to hear about your campaign. Thank you so much for running. I'm just really curious to hear how it's going. Are you being fairly treated by the press? Are you getting equal time? Is the machine, you know, fighting back to try to silence you? Are you going to canvass? How big is your district? You know, just a whole bunch of. I'd love to hear that.
Come by the office tomorrow. We'll show you the map. But the district is huge. The district is big. Part of my district is it has. Unlike Gary. Gary has a much harder task than me, but at least he's got a tea party around him. My district is pretty huge, and parts of it though are somewhat urban, so it's not that hard to campaign in. As far as the press, I mean, the press have only written 2 articles about the campaign. One which, the B that is, one which incorrectly identified which districts Gary and I were running in, which but you know, that shows you catch it, but was okay. And the second was actually a very good article in which they slammed the supervisors, or the incumbents. I love that article, and I thought that was good. Now, we've interviewed with them to see if we can get their endorsement of the main paper, to be, for what it's worth. The people both of us are running against have both been in power for 8 years. In fact, Roberta McLaughlin, who Gary's running against, ran unopposed last time. The person who ran last time against Susan Peters has endorsed me. So we are working all the time. We're soon going to be launching TV ads minutes from now, right? It's like Sunday morning or Saturday morning?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Cool. And after that is done, now even when I first started running, I heard immediately people called me and said, well, you know, you're known for defending the medical marijuana dispensaries, and so they said, yeah, that's what I've done. I'm not backing down from that position. I think it's right. It's weird. In the city of Sacramento, aside from the federal government's clampdown, in the city they're legal, so much to the point that the head of the city police department is like practically a lobbyist for them. they wrote a law there brilliantly that all the money would be used to support police services, all the fees, brilliant. In the county, they spend tons of money closing them down, don't know why. So it's weird. It's like it's absolutely it's schizophrenic almost. So and people called me and did that, and then I heard that you know, they were going to go around, and they had already started attacking me as the candidate of the potheads and so forth. A union leader at a meeting. No, that was the second one. A union leader at a meeting told me that you know, that they were going to attack me as the pot-smoking candidate of the Occupy movement.
Pot-smoking Occupy attorney.
Pot-smoking Occupy attorney and so forth. And so I am expecting that there will be a vicious attack upon me. Yeah, I'm expecting it. I mean, you know, that's just what we're expecting for a few weeks and so forth. That's what's going to happen. But hopefully that'll make the newspapers take attention. And we actually, as far as getting our message out, in terms of having a campaign on the ground, we are actually ahead of our opponent. She's got a lot of money. So, you know, we're expecting that she will soon be doing a lot of mailing. I mean, we did robocalls yesterday. People were amazed that we would do robocalls and so forth. But we did, and we have door hangers out and lawn signs, and now we're going to have TV commercials, and so we're going to have a very, very serious campaign, which I can tell you people are going to be very, very surprised at.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Are we done?